Hi everyone, and welcome back to Horse Tales, Season 2. I'm your host, Ashley Feschuk. Today I speak to Diane Delano, owner and operator of Wild Horse Rescue Center, located in Webster, Florida. Diane has earned many awards and certifications over the years, including BLM, Pre-Adoption Facility Inspector, Horsemanship Safety Association Instructor, 4Cs Award, Making a Difference Award, and New 6 Getting Results Award. Today, we speak to Diane about her passion, the Mustang. I hope you enjoy the show. Let's saddle up. Hi, Diane, and welcome to Horse Tales.
Hello.
It's so nice to have you on the show. Can you tell me a little bit about the Wild Horse Rescue Center?
Yeah, I sure can. I love to tell you about it. Wild Horse Rescue Center came up to I came up with this idea to try to help the Mustangs. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to help make a difference in their life. And I started by just helping one, and then it continued to grow, and I became actually a nonprofit and named it Wild Horse Rescue Center.
Okay. And so you're located where?
We are located over in a town called Webster, Florida, and we are just west of Orlando. We are just east of Tampa, and we are just south of Ocala. We're actually in a really great location because we're an hour from any of those locations. So we're a little bit towards the central Florida, I guess you would say, 'cause we're off the coast. We have a beautiful, beautiful open fields and big oak trees. We're in an area that was used for cattle, sod, and hay fields for many, many generations.
Wow, sounds lovely. So you started out with just one. And how many are you at now?
Well, we have about 62 horses here at the center currently right now.
They must come from different places. Can you tell me a little bit about what kinds of horses you take in and what they're like?
Mustangs is what I started doing when I adopted my very first Mustang back in 1989. And I fell in love with it, and I adopted another one 6 months later, and then I had kept adopting. So I first started out strictly just Mustangs. Okay. And then I became a nonprofit in 2007. And so we started taking in like a quarter horse or a Tennessee Walker. All these animals would be owner surrendered, right, except for the Mustangs. Mm-hmm. The Mustangs were sometimes cruelty cases where the sheriff's department would remove the animals. I became a volunteer compliance officer for the Bureau of Land Management's Adopt a Horse program. Okay. So for the southern states, which is Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, mm-hmm. I would be a safe house or a place that the Mustangs, I could go pick them up, and I would hold them for the Bureau of Land Management until we could either re-adopt it out, or it would go back to a satellite adoption, or it might be part of a case against somebody for cruelty.
Right. So you are an integral part of these horses' second chance, basically. And when you say adoption, you're talking about from the BLM, am I correct?
I am. The Bureau of Land Management, it's called the Adopt a Horse program. It started in 1971, and it went live 1973.
And so can I ask you, what is it about Mustangs that has you?
Well, from a child, I liked wildlife. My father allowed me to bring stuff home and raise it. I was in upstate New York, so I raised a baby woodchuck, and it would come back every year to me, and when it came out of hibernation. He always allowed me to have rehab wildlife, I guess you could say, and we had horses and dogs and animals. So I just always loved the idea of getting a wild horse. I found out about the wild horses when I was in 7th grade in middle school. Mm-hmm. I saw my very first wild horse in 1975, and it was a tame wild horse. And I was just, oh my gosh, I've got to have one of them. That lady had taken it from being totally wild to being a riding horse. And it took me a long time. It took me until I was almost like 28, 29 until I actually got a Mustang. So
And how did you find the training process? Because they would come to you wild, right?
They do. So you had to, the Bureau of Land Management gives you a guideline for it when you go to adopt. So you have the type of pen you're supposed to have. There's a wonderful book that Barbara Eustace Cross wrote, and that was like a Mustang genitling book. That's like your Bible book. And
wow.
I loved that book. And it was very easy to read, lots of photographs. And the whole theme of that book talked about genitling. And that is where my logo has the heart in the hand, because you touch the horse with your heart in your hand. So I
love that.
Well,
I just love that. Yeah. It's so true.
So when I got my first Mustang, I first got my first one with my girlfriend. So she actually ended up, that became her horse, because she spent way more time. It was on her property in her backyard.
Right.
So my second Mustang I got, we gentled up, and at that time I was married, and that kind of became my husband's horse. So 6 months after that horse, I finally get my very own, that nobody else's. And I was 5 months pregnant when I adopted that horse. And 2 weeks after adopting this horse, Rio, I had the newspaper come out. So here's this 6 month pregnant lady running around the pen with this little Mustang who's running with me and coming to me, and I'm petting him. And so I did all my gentling, all my work, picking up feet, leading, everything with him while I was pregnant.
I admire that.
Well, that could be a testimonial right there. So it's not about brute force.
It's all about spirit. That's for sure. Wow, that's incredible.
And I had that horse for, let's see, I lost Rio in 2019. He was 32 years old. I had that horse for 30 years.
Wow, it's still hard though when you lose them. So I'm sorry for your loss, because it's always hard to see them go. But that's a long time.
It is. I mean, he was a grandpa, so that was good. He had a good long life. He rode me, he rode my children, and he rode my grandchildren. So he was a 3-generation horse.
That's remarkable. That's wonderful.
And he was cute. And he was Rio was his name, but his real name was Rio Cayenne, because he was bright red. He was beautiful.
Well, I'll post a picture on Horsetail's page, as well as that book as well, because I think that's that will interest a lot of my listeners. So can you tell us what you find helps you connect and communicate in the gentling process with these wild Mustangs?
Well, I find that they are very in tune with humans. Like they're watching your body language completely, especially if they've come off the range. So if your Mustang was living out with other Mustangs as a wild roaming horse, their body language is very keen. Another thing is if they raise in, like say they're 2 or 3 or 5 years old and they've lived out there, they are very respectful. Because they have a hierarchy in their herd. So they know manners, they know a look, they know a body language, they, especially your younger ones, they want to belong to the group, so they try to behave. Your bachelor stallions are wonderful to work with because they're looking for a new life, a new belonging to. So when you get the Mustang in and you start working with them, don't lie to them, don't fib to them, and don't fake them. And what I mean by that, you say, well, what do you mean by that? Like, I would never hold feed on a hungry horse and make him come to me and eat while I try to pet him. Yeah. I look at that as groping him, like, that's not fair. So to get respect, you give respect. You can also, with your body language, you're not putting direct pressure on them. I'm going to stand with my solar plex off of them, angled, so that I'm not directly putting that pressure on them. Also touch them in areas that they're willing to be touched. That might be a nose bump or at their withers. That's an area from the neck and the back comes together. It's called the withers. That's an area, that's like the handshake. That's like the friendly spot. Horses groom each other right there. So that's an area. I'm working with a wild mare right now. Oh my God, she's so sweet. She was so afraid. I mean, she's been here a couple months and I hadn't had time to work with her. So now I'm actually working with her. And she was like darting around, really afraid. Her eyes are wide open. But, you know, she's been here now a couple months and we're cleaning in there and she don't care. You can be near her because we're not doing anything to her. She's getting used to it. Every day you're in there. So now petting her, like this morning when I cleaned her pen, she'll nose bump my hand, so I let her touch my hand. And what I mean by that is the back of my hand, we touch like two noses. And then I rub her on her forehead and I was rubbing her neck and chest and she was just like angling her body and she was like, oh my God, that feels so good. And then I walk away because I don't want to overstay my stay. And then I come back and I do it again. So you give them enough that it really, they are searching for more.
Do you, like, when you get a horse, and you've had a lot of horses come through, and you adopt some out, right? Is that correct? Yeah. So. Oh,
absolutely. We have to. I would become like, I have 1 million horses. I've had hundreds and hundreds of horses.
They're like M&Ms.
Not that I don't love all of them.
I know, but they are.
If I had 1 million acres, I could.
I know.
Have that much land.
When you get one, you get two. When you get two, it's just, it goes on. It's like M&Ms, like.
They're like potato chips. That's what I call
potato
them.
chips.
You can't just have one potato chip.
I know.
Or a French fry. I mean, who can just eat one? Or M&Ms. Who can just eat
Exactly.
one?
Exactly. So what's your adoption process like there?
Well, we have, the person actually has to come here. I have horses in Germany, France, and Canada, and all through the United States. The thing is, you do have to come here. So you have to come here, and you have to work with the horse. If the horse is a great match, you can adopt that horse, and that horse will leave. If that horse is not really the perfect match, then we're going to work with you. And you're going to have to, as the time, we'll either get you and that horse matched up, or maybe we need to match you with something else.
That's very thorough. And I can imagine, and that brings me to my next question, which is, I know that your international volunteer program was put on hold due to the coronavirus. Can you tell me a little bit about how COVID has affected the adoption process and your business in general?
Well, it stopped us dead in our tracks. I kid you not. I mean, when we got that announcement that, it was going to be closing down, I had 11 people here from all over the world. I had people from Sweden, Belgium, France, UK, Germany, Australia. It's really a wonderful, wonderful program. I had people from all over here. Now, that was in March. I was booked through all the way to November because we only took 10 people a week. So some people might stay 1 week, some people might stay 5 weeks, or 3 months was the max for their visas. So we already had bookings. So when I have bookings, I know that the funds are coming. So I plan my repairing, fixing, building, doing things with this money coming in. When they stopped, we were in a $17,000 deficit. That's how much I owe my companies right now, because they had already paid us for these people coming, and I had people that arrived like that Monday, and they had to leave that following Monday or that Friday or what, they had to leave immediately. And so the companies were gracious to give us credit. So when we resumed booking, because we figured, okay, a couple months.
Right.
I had 9 companies. 3 companies have gone under, and 1 company is not doing the American projects anymore. So I've lost 4 of my 9 companies.
Oh, that's awful.
Because of COVID.
Yeah.
Now, that was 80 to 90% of our funds. So I didn't need to have local volunteers, really, because I had people living here on site. Our adoptions, actually, COVID didn't hurt our adoptions. If anything, we still adopted pretty regular to everybody local, because a lot of people were home. They couldn't go to work. a lot of people were doing outside stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, last year and this year was good with adoptions, but also I have had a ton of animals come in from elderly. Either the elderly are passed away, or they're moved into nursing homes.
Wow.
Or the horses are taken from them. Right now, since 2020 and current, I constantly get calls. I just took a horse in from a 93-year-old woman that it was taken.
Mm-hmm.
And I just took a pony in from a lady that lost her house and that she was leasing, and now it's getting sold. She has nowhere to go with her kids.
Oh,
And I just brought that pony in because they don't even know where they're going to live in another couple weeks.
that's terrible. That's really sad.
So the COVID, by hitting us financially, what it did to us, which is what I did not want to have to do, is that we had to get SBA loans from the government.
Right.
Because the government was willing to give you loans, and I cannot operate without money.
Oh, yeah.
I still have to buy hay and feed and fuel for the truck and electricity and
vet bills.
Yes. Oh, yes. We always have, we break our horses up yearly because I have so many horses, but the unexpected vet bills.
Of
and
course.
we use holistic as well. We use acupuncture.
Oh, wow.
In fact,
Good.
next Monday we have 2 horses going. Our dogs get acupuncture and holistic, as well as regular veterinarian. We'll have a vet out on Thursday. We're going to be laying down 2 wild, difficult horses to do their feet with a farrier.
So, when you send horses to do acupuncture, you're sending 2, right?
The holistic vet, she does chiropractic, acupuncture, homeopath. So they actually get that little needle acupuncture.
Yeah. So what do you find the acupuncture helps with for horses?
With horses, it can help with emotional. That's probably what most of the acupuncture is helping them with some of their emotional stuff. Also down on the legs when they get acupuncture there, because your body is connected with electrodes all throughout.
Mm-hmm.
So if you put it in a spot near the foot, it can go all the way through the central system to the brain.
That's so interesting.
It depends. We're taking a horse this Monday with skin issues, and sometimes he'll get a remedy like sulfur. First he'll get maybe 2 weeks of detox, and then maybe he'll take sulfur or something.
Right.
Maybe he needs adjusted too. We have a horse that's going that needs adjustment. She gets out in the top of her pole area. She's pretty tight and nervous a lot, and so I think she stresses a bit.
So, you seem to know a lot about horses. Have you read, and I mean, over the years, you've gathered so much knowledge, and you've won so many awards, and you've been a part of so many things and growing your business and everything. Have you read or listened to anything recently that's inspired you that you'd like to share? I
was listening. I bought the DVDs because I can't always listen online. I can't sit all the time just in one spot at that time. So listening to the horse, it was very inspirational. It is a collection of CDs about people from all over the world. And it wasn't like they were teaching you like a training video, but what they were teaching or giving a message was from the heart of people that were doing amazing stuff with the horses. Well, we're actually watching some movies. I actually have a young lady here from South Africa.
Oh, nice.
She booked in on Tuesday, and I picked her up on Wednesday, but she was already in the States.
Yes.
And so she's here with me for 2 weeks right now, and she gets to see our open house. She's going on a trail ride. She's
great.
I'm having her watch movies about the Mustang. So we watched a movie last night called The Misfits from 1961 with Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, yes.
And Clark Gable, and that was, she couldn't believe how that was, and that was really what they were doing with the Mustangs back in the 50s and the 60s.
I forgot about that one.
So now, tonight we're going to watch a movie about the prison program and how that helps the horse and the prisoner.
I've heard about. Yeah, that's an excellent idea. I've heard about that one too. I have to watch it, but that's an excellent idea on how to get people aware.
Right.
And yeah,
it's Wild Horse Redemption is the best one. There's one called the Mustang, but the Wild Horse Redemption is very, very cool because it actually shows you the real deal, the real guys and the real workings with those horses. All
right. That's great. I'm going to look into that one. Do you have any personal mentors out there that you look towards in terms of your work? Someone that you aspire to be like, or that you take little bits and pieces from and kind of incorporate it into what you do?
Well, I had the opportunity from 2001 to 2004. I traveled all over the United States on these workshops. They were called the Wild Horse Workshops. They were put on by Least Resistance Training Concepts. That's Willis Lamb, he and the Bureau of Land Management. So they were like in Colorado, Oregon, Sacramento, Kansas, Utah. So the workshop would be a 5-day workshop, a day getting in and a day leaving. So you were there for 7 days. The very first one I went to was Colorado, and I became a clinician assistant. So then for the following years, I always went back and was being part of the clinician program where I was helping to teach, and I had a pen and I was working with people. But I had the opportunity to work with some amazing people. John Sharp is one of the gentlemen that I worked with. He has passed. He was 89 years old in 2001. 89. And he still was working wild horses. And he was amazing, just amazing. Another gentleman, Mike Horrigan, worked in the prison program in Nevada. And he could just make a horse melt in a squeeze and put a halter on him. Wow. So I had the opportunity to work with some amazing people that had been working a lifetime with these Mustangs.
So in terms of what you're working on going forward, we talked a little bit before I hit record about the reading program, Wild Horse Tales. Do you want to tell me a little bit more about that program?
The Wild Horse Tales was developed by Mark Miller of Arabian Nights and his family. They were from Arizona. And actually, Walter Farley lived next door to them in Arizona, and that's how the books were written I believe Walter Farley was 16 years old when he wrote The Black Stallion in 1946. He was a neighbor. So his boys, Tim and Steve Farley, grew up with Mark Miller, who was a child at that time. So Tim and Mark, as they became adults, they came up with the reading program. And they started it, and what that was to encourage children to read. So it used to be called the Black Stallion Literary Program, and they ran it for, I believe, 15 years. It was running at Arabian Nights, and the Arabian Nights did a dinner theater show, and they went to the schools, and they had and it went nationwide. So they didn't have to go nationwide, but organizations, 4-H, schools, groups, mounted police groups could all do the reading program. So when Arabian Nights closed, I had been a volunteer for it. I started in 2004 as a volunteer, and I used my horse Romeo as the Black Stallion. And then I used a pony named Thunder as Little Black. So I would help out and arrive and volunteer my services. Arabian Nights had adopted several of my Mustangs at Arabian Nights. And so when Arabian Nights closed down, Mark and I had become, pretty good acquaintances because I'd go there and see my horses and stuff. And he knew I was doing the reading program as well. He donated in 2015 the reading program to us because Arabian Nights closed its doors and the program as well. So we named it Wild Horse Tales. It used to be called just Horse Tales, and now it's Wild Horse Tales. So we still do 1st, 4th, and 5th grade. Orange County, I work with their mounted unit, and we still do 1st grade. Matter of fact, we are actually going to do it live, hopefully, this year. We did it virtual since COVID. Ocala, Marion County, picked up our 4th grade. And then we ship books all over Davie, Florida, Virginia, all over America. If they contact us and want to do the reading program, we have the books that we sell to them. And that helps generate funds for our program here. I have to say something. With the kids, I work predominantly with 1st grade. Because because I had Little Black the pony, and I still do, and I have Big Red, the Mustang, that's Big Red. Seeing those children, because they get to pet the horses. They get to pet Little Black. They get to feel his mane and feel his fur. And, 1st graders are just adorable. Yes. Some of them are so afraid, and some of them are so brave, and some of them aren't sure. But it is just wonderful to see them first time maybe ever seeing or touching a horse.
Yeah, it's magic.
And then it's really wonderful to work with our deputies, because our deputies get to see these kids in a different light. Yeah. They get to teach these kids about horses, and we have tables set up. We have a grooming table, a feed table, a farrier table, and a tack table. And that's where the deputies stand with their horses, and the kids get to handle a stirrup, a brush, a bit. They get to touch it and hold it and see what they think of it.
So cool. They must love that. It's so magic when you first introduce a child that's never been around horses, and their reactions can be just priceless. So
yes. And the Ocala, Marion County, they took it a step further. What they're doing, they have a wonderful curriculum. We had a curriculum with our program for the teachers to use as a fun teaching, like vocabulary, geography, things like that. Is going to be math, things of that sort. But Ocala, Marion County took this year, and they made it to gear towards these kids thinking about future jobs in the equestrian world, because Ocala is like the capital of horses. It's the second Lexington, Kentucky. It's Ocala, Florida, and they have the World Center there now, just built and opened. And I just went up there for the introduction for Marion County to have the reading program, and it was just an honor to see all these great people coming together to make this program work in the schools.
It's very meaningful, and I don't know about down there, but up in Canada, I've noticed a big trend in more trade-related interest in jobs, job opportunities for the future.
Well, good. They should model after the Ocala, I'm telling you, because, it's going from farming, hay, trucking, training, veterinarian. There's so many fields that you can work in the equestrian world. And a lot of it is trade.
There is. And so when you started your business over time, do you have any advice for somebody that's thinking about maybe getting into the same line of work and doing what you're doing?
Well, it is a lifestyle, not a job. So it is it's a committed lifestyle. And I can tell you, I always dreamt of working with the horses, being with the horses. I have lost jobs over my horses. I've lost relationships over my horses. I have had to have all these trials and tribulations to really see where my true self was. And I love doing what I do. Do I work long hours? Absolutely. Does it bother me? Not a bit. I can go to bed at 3 a.m. because I had to stay up and email and catch up on stuff, and get up at 7 a.m. and still be happy. I love doing what I do. So you need to have faith. That's probably one of the biggest things. If you use just a business mind, okay, it doesn't look good on paper, okay, business-wise. So you need to definitely have faith in the greater of good, and believe that if you make a difference in one animal, you can help another animal. And be realistic, but don't be so judgmental on, never say you can't do it. Do the best that you can.
Yeah, that brings me to my next question. When you say faith, Have you had to put that faith to the test when you've had, let's say, a challenging horse or horse-related experience where you felt you weren't sure what to do or how to help an animal? What's been a challenging horse issue for you?
That comes in with. I always felt that I could gentle up anything because I was doing pretty good, gentling up and working with the Mustangs. And then 2001, January of 2001, I took in a Mustang to work with her for some people. But the horse was telling me different than the guy's verbal words. What the guy was telling me and showing me didn't coincide with what the horse was telling me. So I brought the horse into my center and I started working with the horse. And I ended up getting the horse. The horse ended up becoming mine. I changed her name. And then I did a nonverbal communication through the field of Mustangs in May with a lady named Ramona Sierra from Sierra Earthworks out in Utah. And that was a life-changing clinic because we used color chakras, cranial sacral, drum vibration, all this amazing healing techniques from Upledger's Institute and Native American stuff intertwined with it. And I ended up taking that little Mustang in August 31st of that same year of 2001 all the way to the Black Hills of South Dakota to Dayton Hyde's place, which was the Wild Horse Sanctuary. Dayton has passed since, but he was still alive. And I did that road trip on just a dream of letting this little mare go free. And we did. Two of my friends, I took my son out of school, I second mortgaged my house and bought a horse trailer that could handle the drive. And we took that little mare out there. When I released Wyoming, she thanked us, and it was just amazing, the feeling. So I realized that some of these horses deserve to have their freedom back. They deserve to not be tame horses. Most of them want to be tamed. So I've been to the Black Hills 3 times. Twice I didn't go. So 5 times I've sent horses to the Black Hills of South Dakota. The last time was in 2016. Returned to Freedom in Lompoc, California, Netta the Maze, beautiful place. And then Proud Spirit when Melanie Bowles, she's retired now, but I had a horse there. And Private Sanctuary. So my thing, ever since 2014, I have been trying very, very, very hard to have true sanctuary right here in Florida because Florida's tourism could support it. So my dream of having 600 acres, I didn't get that. Then I tried for 333 acres, and it just wasn't in my cards. So I went from 2.25 acres to 38 acres to 42 acres. So I'm getting there slowly.
Yes, you are.
And I have 13 Mustangs currently on my property that I need sanctuary for. They were on 600 acres from 2016 to January of 2021. A gentleman let me have them 8 miles from here, and he lost his lease. And when he got kicked off the property, the guy called me and said, "You got 30 days. Get them off my land."
Oh no!
So I had to go catch them up and bring them here.
Right.
So I'm still looking for land and big land.
Okay, well that's good to know. And how it is good because you never know where you might find, someone to help, support your cause. And by putting your message out there, you just don't know. My next question, just in regards to that, was how do you know when a horse wants its freedom back?
Well, they get to where, like I talked to you earlier about Hopi, the mare that I'm working with right now. When you rub her, she just leans into it. Okay, that horse is going to make it. She's going to be fine. It's when you touch them and their skin crawls. I mean, it almost makes you sick, like you're violating somebody. It's a feeling that you have. The horse doesn't breathe. Head up high, eyes are tight, mouth is tight, eyes never get relaxed, and never, ever likes you touching it. No matter brushing it, leading it, handling it. You can lunge them, you can do stuff with them, but it's the touch that never, ever gets okay with. They're like a POW. Is what it is. It's just like this prisoner that he's doing stuff because
PTSD.
He has to, not because he wants. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want to get entailed on it, but I can tell you another story about the Black Hills. I had a dear friend of mine take a Mustang that they worked with for years. They adopted her from me. She had a baby, and the baby's great. They love the baby. They still have her. But the mare just stayed like that. I mean, they even got to training and riding, but she was so unpredictable. I mean, it was not safe because she would just lose her mind. So they took her and another Mustang. That was one of the trips I didn't go to the Black Hills. So they drove all the way out to the Black Hills, and her husband was this big guy, and he's like, oh, my little wife wants me to take the horse to freedom. I guess I'll do that. You know, he doesn't really think it matters. Okay. Yes. So they get all the way out there to the Black Hills, and of course she goes on the tour to see the center, and he's just going to sit around the ranch. He don't feel like going on the tour. He's going to hang there. He cried when this happened. He said he couldn't believe it. It brought tears. He cried. Oh. He was there, and Macaulay had been put into a field before she gets let out into the other field. So Macaulay and Ginger were in like a paddock, and she had been with them for like 5 years. This horse had zero joy to them, you know. All of a sudden, he saw this band of pinto horses come running and whinnying, and she was whinnying, and she was talking to them, and she came to life, and her tail was up, and she was running around, and they were talking back and forth. That he realized that either they knew each other or whatever, but joy was back into that horse. She was excited. She was full of life. That it made him cry.
I don't blame him.
And he realized that it really, really made a difference for that animal.
That's so powerful. It should be a documentary, The Black Hills.
Well, there is documentaries on the Black Hills. You're funny you asked that, because in 2001 we filmed it. I wrote a story in 2002. I put it in the Library of Congress, but I haven't made it into a book or a film, and that's about Wyoming, about her. And I tried to get Friars back in 2001, 2002, and even 2003 to make a Wyoming model.
Model
on that the Mustangs matter.
Yes.
And their life and their freedom matters. And I really, really wanted that to be a legacy for that mare.
Oh, well, I get it. I would love to see that initiative go.
We have it documented. We had an incredible journey taking her there. We were 100 miles from the Black Hills, and Wyoming was the same thing that I said about Macaulay. No joy, you know, head always like the eyes just gray. There's no life in them. We got 100 miles from the Black Hills. We had to stay the night because it got dark too fast. She was breathing the air. Her eyes were glistening. She knew we were there. She knew we were close. And the girls that were with me, they couldn't believe the transition. And it must have been the smells, because she came from the state of Wyoming, from the Rawlins Herd Management Area, which is right on the other side, basically, of South Dakota, touches Wyoming.
Yeah,
and the Black Hills is right there in that corner.
That's incredible.
So I've had a lot of incredibleness with the Mustang. So I have given my life's work to these animals. And I provide and give. I feel like I give them a hand up. And then I find them a home forever, and some of them need freedom forever too.
Well, it's good that you can make that distinction, because I can imagine sometimes letting go would be very difficult too. Just in terms of our own personal, the ego sometimes gets in the way. Yes, I've got a couple that I've really tried. I've got two that I hate
to want to make them sanctuary because they were young enough, and they are still on the training a little bit, because I really, really, really hope that I can make them into training horses. But both of them actually would just love to be left alone. Yeah. So they may end up becoming part of the sanctuary group.
So when people come to visit you and the horses, what are some of the lessons you'd like visitors and volunteers and participants to take away with them?
Spend time in the moment. Even with our volunteer program, we wanted you to put down your phone and spend the time with these animals, especially here at my center. We have quite a few of them that have stalls or paddocks or whatever. We have other horses that are tame horses, or the wild groups that are out in fields. But anybody that's in captivity in these pens, you are their lifeline. You are their introductory to seeing somebody, because you're in there in the morning. We used to do morning and night cleanings, and then you're haying, scrubbing water buckets, spending time with the animals. So live in the moment with that animal. We're basically room service here. Okay, I'm basically a room service person. Okay,
24 hours.
Yeah. So my title is room service. So I make sure that they have, a clean pen, and they have fresh, good hay, and we feed, a variety of hays. We feed good grain. I just showed somebody, we're doing an open house this weekend, and I kept some of this feed that we're giving to the pigs or the cows. If the pigs don't eat it, the cows probably will. But it's made for horses. It's actually a horse feed. And I had everybody on Saturday, I had all the different volunteers here. I was like, here, take a handful of that, smell that, try to break that up and tell me. It was horrible. It was a horrible feed. It smells like peanut hulls, because the second ingredient was peanut hulls. Like, who even eats peanut hulls? So we feed really well to our animals.
Yeah,
my name was going to be Wild Horse Healing Rehabilitation Center, and I was like, oh God, thank God I didn't do that. I'd have my email address.
It would be very
84 letters. So, we shortened it just to Wild Horse Rescue Center.
And it's lovely. Yeah, it's lovely, and I do love your logo. And where can people go to connect with you online, or if they want to help out, or maybe they have some land they don't want down there? Where can they? And I can. Yeah, they can contact us through our website, which is wildhorserescuecenter.org. We have a Facebook page. We have a Instagram page, and we now have TikTok. So all of that is going to be our name, Wild Horse Rescue Center. And you have a podcast of course, interview. My phone number. Yes, and I wear my phone number on my truck and my back. I had a lady tell me many years ago, probably back in like 2014, this lady said, why do you have your number written on your stuff? Yeah. And I said, because I don't mind talking to people. She goes, why doesn't that go to a recording? I said, because I hate recording. I will answer my phone, and I will talk to anybody about wild horses. I'm happy to show my place. I'm happy to bring tours. We have, I used to, because COVID stopped all this as well, we'd have the Boy Scout, Girl Scouts, homeschool, 4-H. I do stuff with all those groups, Native American festivals, birthdays, things at the school for job enhancement things. So we've been very active since 2000, basically. I've been doing all of that. And prior to that, I did stuff with the Mustangs, still with 4-H, Girl Scouts, and festivals as well from about 1992 onward. Well, I want to thank you for your time today and for your life's work and dedication to animals, and especially the horses and the Mustangs, and to the people that you're educating for, the next generation of horse people. And I just think that what you're doing is really remarkable. So thank you for being a guest on Horse Tales.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you so much for letting me share my story about a little spot down here in Florida that helps a lot of horses, and we touch people all the way around the world, which is a beautiful thing. There's so many people that want to do and help just like we are helping here in Florida.
Well, I learned a lot, so thank you, Diane.
All righty, thank you.
Take care.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me on today's trail ride. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you do like the show, hit like and subscribe. You could also leave me a comment, which I would really appreciate. Also, you can find this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, including Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Sirius, and a few others. Anyway, until we meet again, thanks everyone for listening.
But it's time to ride.